It is an uncomfortable fact, but Thanksgiving, although it is a great tradition in the US, is not immune to the ridiculous levels of gun violence that we have across this country. And so I want to talk about one particular instance from this Thanksgiving involving Jorge Luis Valencia Lamadrid in Cary, North Carolina. The situation that developed at their Thanksgiving party is complex, so we're gonna take you through it. Witnesses told police that the victim had been drinking heavily throughout the day before the physical and verbal confrontation that led to the shooting. As I alluded to in the last block, there's a gun in this story. Lamadrid told police that his family had just sat down to have Thanksgiving dinner when two of his sons got into an argument about athletes taking a knee during the national anthem. The victim became confrontational with his older brother, and it was at that point that Lamadrid told his 21-year-old son to leave the house. Soon after telling his son to leave the house, the confrontation between his two children became physical, and he tried to stop it but was not strong enough to keep his son separated. This is according to him. He then asked that son to leave the house. His son complied and left. The victim came back into the house and continued to argue with his father before Lamadrid took his son's bags and put them outside on the back porch. His other son, who was first in the argument with the victim, then threw his brother's bags off the back porch. The victim then began throwing patio furniture in the backyard. According to Lamadrid, so understand what is going on. So they're having this brawl, they're fighting. It was inside the house, it's outside the house. At some point, because of the physical problem, he's not strong enough to stop him. That's why we said that. That is his reason that he gave why it was okay for him to go and get a shotgun. So the father has a shotgun, and he's holding it as this is developing. And at some point, his son throws a water bottle at him that hits him in the face, and he says that causes him to squeeze the trigger, firing his shotgun off and hitting one of his kids who was hit in the hand and leg. Lamadrid is charged with assault with a deadly weapon, inflicting serious injury in connection with the shooting. Now, thankfully, no one died, but there was a shotgun involved. And when you have a shotgun, the chance of being shot with a shotgun goes up drastically. And so that was what developed. It's this sort of stereotypical Thanksgiving story. You get together and people start arguing with each other, except in this case, a gun was present. And so rather than bags being thrown or a punch being thrown, bullets went flying because a gun was there.
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously a terrible story, but thankfully, as you say, no one died, and it was, and apparently everybody will recover. I can't even. I've read the story twice. I can't follow it.
Yeah, it's
like I can't. So it's like because it was the two kids firing, and they threw the drunk kid who he thinks sort of started it out of the house.
Yes.
And then
there's a third kid,
and the kid wouldn't leave. And then there's two kids, I think, right? And then he threw that kid out of the house. Kid one left the house, finally left the house, and then kid two was like, "This whole thing's your fault, Dad." And then he threw him out of the house. So first of all, the guy threw his two sons out of the house on Thanksgiving, and then the first kid came back, and that's what led to the
apparently, I mean, they like the NFL issue for whatever reason is a controversial issue. I don't know why people hate it so much, but they were fighting over it to the extent that they were physically fighting each other.
So yeah, the Washington football team signed a player that was released from the San Francisco 49ers this week, Reuben Foster. I think he's had 3 arrests for domestic violence. One was rescinded, but now it came back. And guys, I mean, I want the best for him, and I want the best for his perhaps victims. We don't really know what happened. It hasn't been adjudicated yet, but he's been in trouble enough that the 49ers, well past the time many people thought he should be released, finally went ahead and released him. And the thought was, well, until these are adjudicated or until a number of years, time has passed, this guy's done in the league. He's a good player. And except Washington signed him.
He's back.
The next day, Washington signed him. Colin Kaepernick hasn't played in 1 year and 12 weeks. Like, this guy is three times he's been arrested for domestic violence, and there are plenty of other examples. Adrian Peterson, who beat his kid and says he still beats his kid, is playing also for Washington, and Colin Kaepernick can't get a job in an NFL that's desperate for competent quarterbacks. And I don't know that he's great, but he is unquestionably, if you count backups, one of the 64 best quarterbacks in America. And it's just crazy that he hasn't been hired.
Yeah,
I thought it was fun. You know, when my kids get out of hand, I always go get my shotgun. Because that is how we rule by the fist in our home. I just think it's a sad day where in a family altercation, and when people say Thanksgiving, well, we call it Thanksgiving, natives call it the National Mourning Day. But it's just so, you know, it's gotten to the point where you go get a gun for your own kids when there is an altercation at your home. That's very telling. And you gun people, like I said, don't come for me because I'm not trying to take anybody's guns that's within good reason, because I just think it's crazy that we are having a conversation about a family that got into an altercation, a verbal altercation, and somebody thought that the solution was a shotgun. Am I the only one that's crazy?
That is crazy. And look, the reason that I wanted to cover this story today is this situation, if you took out the shotgun, is perfectly normal, I mean, it's weird throwing both of your kids out, whatever, but it happens. This is America. We get hyped up over things, we go crazy. It is only the gun that makes it a terrible situation. Like a month ago on the main show, I covered a story at a 1-year-old's birthday party where there was a fight that started. A guy went to his car, got his gun, went back, ended up killing multiple people. Like multiple people from one family ended up being shot. That same situation without the gun doesn't result in people dying. Nobody watching this video, hearing me talk right now, thinks if he hadn't had a gun, he would have killed them with his bare hands.
That's right.
It is only the gun that makes it happen. As Eddie Izzard once said, the NRA says guns don't kill people, people kill people. But I think the gun helps. And it certainly makes it more likely. And that is why we're focusing on this. You take every other variable, all the same, you add in a gun, suddenly people start dying. And we have this one situation, but this is not a problem, of one family in America. I did a little bit of brief Googling, and at least 438 people were shot in the US over Thanksgiving weekend in 2017. At least 526 people were shot in America over Thanksgiving break back in 2016. So I guess we're moving in the right direction. Hundreds of people, and many of those, if you just hadn't had the gun, well, I mean, I guess none of the shootings would happen, but a lot of those who had died would not have died. Nobody's taking a carving knife and killing people with their knives. Guns make people murderers. That is just the way it works. It is too easy to kill a person with a gun. That's the way it tends to work out in this country.
2 easy ways to follow the Young Turks. One is hit the subscribe button down below, then you're a TYT subscriber. And second is ring the bell. And when you do that on YouTube, you're notified of our videos.